And there's a lot of those concerns that are out there, and we're seeing this all throughout. Now, if we saw that video, there was also an apartment complex in Fort Myers, and we want to also show you, because it's not just the wind, not just the rain, and not just the flooded water that's out there. You have to watch for a lot, but this was also from an apartment complex in Fort Myers. This was at Evans and Correll, and I forgot the name. I don't have it at the top of my head. But for this one, it's right off of Metro Parkway, about southeast of downtown Fort Myers. Again, showing what some people have been enduring when they've been seeing some of the issues with the roofs.
Centera Apartments.
At Centera, yep.
And while we're here, Chris, quickly, we did just get another alert from Lee County. This is in Lee County, that it is now in a curfew as of 6 p.m. So that was just an hour and a half ago until further notice. So we're now under a curfew no matter what. So make it through the night, and even tomorrow morning when you start seeing the sun peek out, we're still under curfew. They don't want you out on the roads. We don't want you out being curious. And so that curfew in now effect until further notice in Lee County. And
this is for all of Lee County except for Estero. That is one thing that's in there. They did note in this that the village of Estero is not included within this, but outside of Estero, because you're talking the Fort Myers area, McGregor, Iona, all the way down to Fort Myers Beach, down to Bonita. So many places were hit hard, but everywhere except for Estero at this point.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Unincorporated Lee. Thank you very much for that context there. Still, you don't want to be venturing out in the storm right now, as we're clearly seeing the damage. The winds are not going to stop. The rain is not going to stop. Really, what did Andrew say? And tomorrow we're still going to feel tropical storm force winds even as this hurricane moves across the state. And what was interesting is it is a statewide story, Chris. 58 of the 67 school districts are now closed. 2.5 million Americans, 2.5 million Floridians had to be evacuated under mandatory evacuation. So this is spanning all across Florida.
And to show the level of the statewide impact, Governor Ron DeSantis, back during his news conference before 5 o'clock, did talk about how they have produced a letter for the White House to be able to get special disaster from the emergency declaration for this, to provide for some of the reimbursements for some of the initial response time for the first couple of months out of this. So that is in the works right now.
And so I guess we have new video now coming in of a coastal view as Ian approached today. What we do know is officially Ian made landfall in Cayo Costa at 3:05 p.m. as a Category 4 storm. Cayo Costa right off Lee County's coast.
And really, when you see something like this, you know, you've got the camera there. Imagine having to be out there in this. And I hope nobody was. But this is why we could see the evacuations. And even for people who are sheltering in place, just imagine the level of stress that comes in if you're looking outside your window and that's what you're seeing. And now we're going to go to South Naples. We'll go into Collier County also to see some video of flooding. And I know we do have a couple of pieces from video that hopefully we do have from Collier County. Some of the flooding in South Naples, as we've got this.
Yep, that's it. Is it coming in? Gosh, this one was an interesting one for Collier County, because I'm sure for the folks down there, it felt like it snuck up a little bit faster than it really did for Charlotte and Lee as well.
But we also saw this in downtown Naples as well. Once you get to Fifth Avenue and some of the other more well-known areas of downtown Naples, you could also see the impact of Hurricane Ian all throughout the day down there as well. So, and also shows the width, because we talked about Hurricane Charlie, only 8 miles wide, but this one with a much bigger expanse that we're seeing all throughout Southwest Florida.
And I felt like for some residents, it feels like it might have snuck up on them, because we did think just a few days ago this was going to be more for our northern neighbors, and it just shifted and shifted. And I was even surprised to see today how violent that storm surge was down in Collier County, and how quickly it was, as you're getting another shot now of South Naples here. This one was actually posted by the Naples Police Department when they said they now have a curfew in place as does Lee County tonight. As
we can see some of the drone video, this coming from, or actually this is just flood video from Naples. I say just flood video, but so dramatic, and shows really the scope of this, because once you see it from a little bit higher up, it really just spells it out, especially once you're against the buildings. And I think it was from when we saw those initial shots of the water going up to the bottom of the stop signs in Sanibel this morning. And we didn't think that would become really the tapestry of the day in so many communities.
For me, it was video of seeing Naples firefighters having to evacuate, wading in water with their fire truck up as well. And I'm hoping we're going to get that video a little later. In the meantime, it looks like we might have an outage map ready for us.
And also some of the numbers that were out there, because we saw just how many people are impacted by this, how many people do not have power. And for anyone here who might be watching us through a generator or through batteries, a special thank you to you. I hope that you're getting the information that you need from this to get some sense of the context with this. But when we think about some of those counties, those last reports that we had, Charlotte County, about 125. Well, actually, we'll do it backwards. Charlotte County told us everybody but about 2,000 people in Charlotte County did not have power. Only about 2,000 people did. For Lee County, that number was about 250,000 out of 800,000 people countywide.
80% people without a power in Lee County. And this is going to be, the governor literally said, a drop in the bucket compared to the power outages that we're going to see across the state and statewide. It looks like a power outage map is up from LCEC right now. This is not FPL, this is LCEC, and you can just see these numbers personally are too small. So for our producers, if you want to call them out for us, that would be amazing. But we do know, look at that. That's the entirety of Southwest Florida highlighted there.
And not just within this, but also then you're going down to Collier County, which they've also had their numbers as well, up to Charlotte County, because these coastal counties have been hit so hard by this. And we're hoping that the power does come on at a certain point, sooner, of course, rather than later. But that's also going to become the big story for the next day, 2 days, even up to a week, because it could take a while to get some of this back on. And
in previous hurricanes, what always brought me comfort was seeing all the linemen from all the different states reading off the state license places as well. And seeing that they're coming from all over to help us. And I know that we're going to get the numbers coming in soon, but I'm going to come break down the lineman numbers, 42,000 coming to Florida right now.
And also remember, these are specialists. They're trained to do this.
Oh, absolutely.
But there is one thing that these government leaders are echoing that we're also going to echo. To do what you can to stay off the roads and stay out of their way.
Oh my gosh,
because this way they can get the power back on to everybody. Same thing with emergency responders, because maybe they might need to get to a house to help with a situation. If we can all do a little part, do what we can to stay off of the roads, even if it's tempting to go out and look around and see some of the damage. Or even if it's tempting if you're not at your property. Maybe you're watching this from another state and you're curious about whether your property in, say, Cape Coral is okay. Let's just find a way to follow the orders, be rule followers on this so we can all get the power back on a little bit sooner.
All right.
Your eyes are a lot younger than mine, so please, I'll have you look at these.
All right, let me go through these numbers here. I know that map is no longer up, but that's okay. Lehigh Acres, 20,000 power outages. Again, these are LCEC numbers. They're going to seem a lot smaller than FPL. Lehigh Acres, 20,000. Immokalee, 6,000. Marco Island, 17,000. Sanibel, over 10,000.
And think about also the wind speeds that were coming in on this. Because you would look at some of them like Southeast Cape Coral, 140, and we had that report at the Yacht Club at 5 p.m. at about 135 miles per hour, just to show you the intensity of Hurricane Ian as it was pushing through.
It almost seems unimaginable to say those numbers as well. Well, let's just quickly say that with the power outages, as I mentioned, 42,000 linemen coming in from 30 different states. And that one was one that usually comes with hurricanes. That is what comes. What struck me today is how many search and rescue teams are now mobilizing along with those power crews and companies. This is going to be a search and rescue event, as we know. We've had several people call in and email in to us saying that they are trying to get in touch with 911 and trying to get any help as those waters quickly rose earlier today and as they, I would imagine, are staying high. And so with that, they are deploying hundreds of boats, Black Hawk helicopters from Alabama, from Tennessee. They're bringing in aircraft. They're clearing the runways at RSW to hopefully bring in more food and supplies, because as you mentioned, that's probably going to run out in the coming days. This is going to shift from an emergency weather event to a rescue mission and a search and rescue effort here.
And we've talked a lot, especially this year, with trying to make sure that food insecurity gets battled. We talk about this all the time here in Southwest Florida because we have seen this with inflation, where people are going to certain places so that they can get the basics. But now we're also going to have to see, from maybe even a larger scope, if some of the entities are going to go reach people where they are to give them the basics, because eventually some of the people are going to run out of those basic necessities. It could be food, it could be toiletries, it could be just some of the things that we all have that we all definitely take for granted. So hopefully that all gets addressed in the coming days as well, especially if the power does not get back on.
And a storyline that's going to come out of this that we've been covering extensively in Fox 4 is our property insurance crisis, and so many homeowners dealing or being dropped or not having flooding insurance. And so that's going to be a very difficult road to navigate moving forward. Where do you file a claim, and how is FEMA going to step in? These are all things that we here at Fox 4 will help you navigate. That is not coming anytime soon, though. This is now all about staying in place, riding out this storm, surviving this storm, and having that rescue mission come out.
And especially for 2022, because this has been a year of so much evolution when it comes to how Southwest Florida is. More people moving down here. We've also seen housing prices go up. We do see the inflation where a lot of the basic necessities are out there, and just being able to try to handle this on top of a catastrophic hurricane. That's going to be a real challenge here throughout Southwest Florida.
So we have a couple of places that we want to navigate. We do know, and I can't promise right now that we're going to take this, that Bonita Springs is going to host a news conference. It looks like they are feeding that on a Facebook Live right now. So we're going to try to work to route that. So while we're working on that, it sounds like Sheriff Carmine Marcino is there. So it sounds like he's going to have a message about trying to get out to the folks who might be flooded or trapped in their homes, because we know there's a lot of people stranded. So,
but for Bonita Springs, though, we've also seen some of the images coming out of there. We've seen some of the businesses that are along Bonita Beach Road, right there at the curve, right as they're going towards Fort Myers Beach. They've been surrounded by water
on
as
the
well.
Imperial River right there.
Yeah, and we saw that at the Dock Beach House. And once you go a little bit further inland into Bonita Springs itself, the Imperial River is always a risk to flood whenever the water gets high. So yeah, we are seeing a lot of that as well too. So hopefully we'll be able to get some more information from the Lee County Sheriff's Office as well as some city officials with Bonita Springs, because the impact has also been there as well too. As again, now we're approaching the dark. So many people without power right now, just trying to get through this night.
Okay, it sounds like it is routed, ready to go. So let's go ahead and listen in on Bonita Springs, including Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marcino.
Access the people that need to be helped. Their life and safety is most important. But my message is very clear to those that think they're going to loot. Go somewhere else. Leave the state. Don't do that in here, not in Lee County. We're assessing everything as we go along. Again, I don't know what the sustained winds are right at this moment, but I do know they're over 45. I can't wait for us to be able to get out there immediately and access. Again, we want to be safe and we want to get there as soon as possible. I'll take questions from anyone. We have drones, we have aviation. Everything is on standby, all assets on deck, all hands on deck. I'm sorry? Well, right now the curfew came out, and we can't get out there to enforce it immediately right now, but we want people to know. I mean, this could change right now. We could change 5 minutes from now. Those winds go down, we're going to be out there. We want people, we educate people, we make them aware. As a last step is enforcement. We need to protect those that are in need right now. We don't know exactly what's out there. There are residents that are desperate for help. Their homes are compromised. Businesses are compromised. We have water issues. So our message wants people stay off the roadways and let us assess it. I'm not pulling every car. First, it's life, safety, health, and welfare. So we're going to be out there to make sure those calls for service, the people that are waiting and in need, we're going to address that immediately. But make no mistake, in the big picture, there is a curfew. Again, that's put in place to protect the residents of this county. Once we get past that point, when it can be lifted, it'll be lifted. But I need to make certain that, things are protected when they're vulnerable. Again, life, safety, property.
Sheriff, we're getting phone calls from people saying they're trapped in their attics. 911 would hold us down. What do you say to those folks tonight?
My heart is with them. I have no words. It's frustrating for me. I want to personally go out there with my team and find the people that need help. And I want to help everybody. But we can't compromise other life too. When we told people in the very, very beginning, please listen, this is a mandatory evacuation. We can't force people out of their homes. Some people, which I understand, made that choice to stay. So right now, just do the best you can to get to higher ground. Go to the second floor. I don't know exactly what the statistics are. I don't know what I'm looking at. What are the incidents? But all I can say is those that are in need, we want to get to you, and we will get to you as soon as possible, not waiting 1 second. And again, I don't know the exact time frame. Thinking about the sustained winds, when is that going to die down? This has really, this really hit us hard. So we're moving as we go and making those decisions as we go. But one thing we won't hesitate is getting to those in need, and we'll do that immediately.
I'm sure you've been busy. Do you know how many calls
And we are back on. Just heard from Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marcino from Bonita Springs, telling people not to loot, but also talking about the evacuation situation. And he said that his deputies with his department can't just force people out of their homes, so they can just try to recommend that people get to higher ground as soon as possible.
Yeah, and he said that hopefully they'll be able to get to you once the storm has passed and it's safe to get those crews out. Not only LCSO here, we're not just talking about the sheriff's office, we're talking about FWC and fire crews, urban search and rescue teams, people from all over, different nonprofits, the state, even the National Guard, 7,000 guardsmen being deployed. This is going to be a massive search and rescue mission moving forward. But for now, they won't be able to get to you.
And as we're approaching the 8 o'clock hour, it's about 7:54, this is still not over. And we have to stress this as well, too, though. This is still very much a weather event as it keeps pushing its way north and northeast. So we'll bring in Fox 4 meteorologist Andrew Shipley with an update.
Yeah, we're trying to get a full update here because one of our weather system here is not really talking really well. So I'm going to work with what I have here. So we do have really the eye center of circulation is just south of Arcadia at this time, but you're also seeing a lot of the heaviest rain up there. That's where we do have that extreme wind warning. It goes until 9:30 up and around the Arcadia area down through Port Charlotte, but you're seeing still on that backside, that wrap around, that backside of Ian's eye wall, which is where we're still seeing the most intense, but it wraps around not only through Sarasota, but down through Port Charlotte, down into Cape Coral. So still at Cape Coral, you're still looking at hurricane force winds for you at this time. Now, I think further south down into Naples, you're probably down to tropical storm force winds, but you're still looking at damaging winds in and around your area, heavy rainfall in and around your area, and you're still looking at, because that the way that the topography is oriented around Ian, you're still looking at that rain, wind blowing off the ocean there, pushing that water back towards the coastline, and that's battling our tidal receding, just that normal low, heading towards low tide later on here tonight. So we're still going to be dealing with high water, that surge that's really not falling all too fast. It's coming down slowly, but it's going to take a lot of time to get that water. We're talking a lot of water going out. And I know it came in really quick, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way where it just goes out just as quickly in a lot of these circumstances. So I think we're still going to be dealing with a lot of places seeing water here through the overnight hours as Ian slowly pushes away from us. But I don't think it's going to reach in towards Central Florida until we get in towards about 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So we still have plenty of time before Ian moves on out of here, guys.
Fox 4 meteorologist Andrew Shipley, as we're still seeing the slow push of this storm. So just to note that even if maybe you're in a place where we're just down to the winds, and I say just down relatively, there's still many others here in our viewing area still battling Hurricane Ian. A
lot of emotion and anxiety over the last several hours. Wow, it's incredible to think that 12 hours ago is when I got my first alert that power was out, and here we are, many of our neighbors' lives upended today.
And also a reminder for tomorrow, because we've seen this from the forecast, that wind is not just going to die off tomorrow either. It's still going to be out there. It's not just going to go down to 3 miles per hour. So that's something we're all going to have to deal with as many people kind of take stock of their own property situations or however their home lives have been turned upside down because of this.
And something that has really been able to keep us sustaining and giving you a wide picture of what Southwest Florida's impacts were with our viewer videos. And we just have a new video showing condos in Fort Myers flooding there as well. Let's see if we can pull that up, because this is new video that we haven't seen yet.
And again, it does sound like it's on the way, but this also comes in as we've seen so much of the flooding of video. We've seen water rushing through the streets of downtown Fort Myers. We've seen it sweeping cars away. Saw it sweeping a Lee County Sheriff's trailer away in Fort Myers earlier today. We also saw at that apartment complex there on Evans Avenue, where you could see the water coming in through the roof, and it could be getting through shutters, could be getting through shingles, it could be getting through doors. We've seen it push past doors today.
And besides the water, we've seen shutters fly off. We've seen lanais pool cages just ripped right off as well. So this really was a flooding storm surge event, a wind rain event, a hurricane that will go down in history here in the state of Florida.
Yeah, I think when so many people look back to Hurricane Ian, as you noted, it will get in with those other names, Andrew, Michael, Charlie for people who are in Punta Gorda, because I mean the last 18 hours. It's been so intense here throughout this. And this comes after all the tornado storms or the warnings that we had last night as well, too.
And I sat down with 8 Charlie survivors right when hurricane season started, and these were grown men with who were military veterans with tears in their eyes with the stories that they had for Charlie. And what they said, and granted they were in manufactured homes, was that they would never stay for another one. My heart's for the people in Punta Gorda, especially those 8 survivors that I spoke with, knowing the folks who survived Charlie might be feeling and reliving that's this all over again.
You think about those 8 survivors from Charlie from 18 years ago. There could be hundreds of thousands of stories from today. Everybody's going to have an experience, and we're going to do what we can over the next days, weeks, months, maybe even years, bringing you here at Fox 4 as you watch us a lot of those stories, a lot of those experiences, because it is part of the overall community, the overall tapestry that all of us have here as Southwest Floridians to be able to get through this. And I mean, everybody's going to have a story. It could have just been trying to make sure that their cars were at higher ground. It could have just been struggling to get the shutters on, or making sure the shingles were staying on top of their homes, or
we
it could
all
have been
have
much worse.
those stories as well. All of us here are feeling that with Fox 4. We're living this with you and through you. We have family that we can't get in touch with, and loved ones who are at home. And and then we have people who decided that this was something to play in earlier today. And we have that video showing a jet skier on Fort Myers Beach, which is just
It's gotten
horrifying.
a lot of traction on social media with a lot of comments.
We
because
always
you can
have
see
these
this.
guys try to make light of this. And this is where the deaths happen. I don't know how to... I don't even know if I can sugarcoat it at this point. Playing in storm surge waters and going outside, and it's just, this is where people die.
This also led to a very strong reaction during the governor's news conference before 6 p.m. as the office was urging people not to even take out boats, even with good intentions, to try to help others because of the risk that something could happen and put their own lives in danger. Because when you have high water, you don't know where it could be going. You don't know how that current that's in some of it could be leading you to. So that's also why curfews are in place, not just to stay off the roads, not just to stay off the sidewalks, but also the waterways, to be able to let all of the crews do their jobs, whether it's utilities, whether it's emergency responders, whether it's anybody who needs to get to a certain home or a condominium to try to help with saving somebody's life, for example.
And I know we have a lot of